Before we delve into the intricacies, let's establish a foundational understanding of the man we're about to discuss. Dr. Dan Burisch, also known as Dan Crain, he is a trained microbiologist. Now, his story takes a rather extraordinary turn with claims of his involvement in highly classified projects at Area 51, specifically at a sublevel known as S4. At S4, Dr. Burisch alleges that he worked with a living extraterrestrial biological entity, commonly referred to as a J-rod. This work reportedly involved studying the being's biology and attempting to remedy a malady called a peripheral neuropathy. Furthermore, Dr. Burisch's claims to have been affiliated with the infamous Majestic 12 organization, a supposed secret group managing extraterrestrial affairs. According to the narrative, his mentor through his life was Admiral J. Mike McConnell, who supposedly held significant power within Majestic 12. Dr. Burisch even claims to have held the position of Representative Number 9 in this august group. A central aspect of his story revolves around Project Lotus, a scientific study he was involved in. Later in his narrative, he states that he was ordered by Majestic 12 to disclose the truth of the extraterrestrial reality as he personally knew it to the world, starting in October 2005. It's important to acknowledge that Dr. Burisch's claims have been met with significant controversy and debate within the UFO research community and beyond. Some researchers have attempted to debunk his credentials and experiences, while others have found corroborating evidence, such as his lecture at Caltech in 2008. We will also touch upon his claims related to Timeline 1, Variation 83, a probable future event reportedly identified using a device called Looking Glass. So as we proceed, keep in mind this foundational sketch of Dr. Burisch's narrative, a microbiologist who claims to have worked on extraterrestrial biology at Area 51, been part of Majestic 12, and was tasked with disclosing this reality to the world. Now, let's delve into the specifics and examine the details of this complex and fascinating story. I'm Brian Jackson. Dan Burisch was at the heart of controversy in the early 2000s, but in 2008, his presence had significantly diminished within the broader UFO research community. Today, he's virtually absent from the current conversations on the phenomenon. I've titled this Refocusing the Dan Burisch Story because I believe that his claims remain deeply significant. The biology of a living, captive extraterrestrial, technologies that revealed potential future timelines, and most importantly, alleged agreements with multiple species, agreements that may be critical to humanity's preparation for an upcoming catastrophe. For a while, I stepped away from focused study within ufology, but the depth of what's at stake demands renewed attention to the story. My friend Bill Ryan summed this up perfectly. Stories like this are incredibly complex. But this unique case does yield one significant gem, a rare find with any insider or whistleblower's claim, and that is an overwhelming amount of material to study. Hardly the result of a hoax, fraud, or as one journalist wrote about Dan, a phony baloney goofball. I contend that some people drew conclusions about him far too early. Let's clear this up early. You'll see both Crain and Burisch used for Dan's name. Some have wrongly taken this as evidence of deceit. In truth, Dan legally changed his name to Burisch in 1995 after marrying Deborah K. Burisch, honoring her stepdaughter's wishes to keep the name. After their divorce in 2007, he reverted back to Crain. Most of the material I'll discuss occurred during the Burisch period, which is now how he's best known. Here are the main points to the story. Dan holds a bachelor's degree in biological sciences and psychology from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and earned a PhD in microbiology and molecular genetics from the State University of New York. In 1986, at the age of 22, he was recruited by the U.S. government to work on classified programs. As his security clearance increased, the U.S. Navy co-funded his doctoral studies. He worked under Majestic on Project Aquarius, eventually becoming the working group leader in the study of a living extraterrestrial entity. This work granted him rare access to world-altering technologies and information, ultimately leading to his placement within a deep state group that quietly influences decisions affecting all of humanity without the public's awareness. The MJ-12 leader at the time was designated MJ-1, was U.S. Vice Admiral John Mike McConnell. He served 29 years in the military. He was former Vice Admiral in the United States Navy. He served as Director of the National Security Agency from 1992 to 1996, and as the United States Director of National Intelligence from February 2007 to January 2009 during the Bush administration and the first week of the Obama administration. For reasons too complicated to summarize here, he and Dan were very close, and this bond would yield tremendous benefits and privileges to Dan while on the program. McConnell and Dr. Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, played a crucial role in recruiting Dan into Project Aquarius. A significant part of this program was conducted at Groom Lake, Nevada, commonly known as Area 51. Area 51 has recently been renamed to Air Force Test Center Detachment 3. Project Aquarius was initiated in 1953 to study extraterrestrial life forms, and in Dan's case, a species known as a J-rod. One of these was alive and held captive at the Papoose Lake S4 facility, located 12 miles southwest of the main Groom Lake base. S4 is a highly classified subterranean facility in the remote area of the desert, extending 5 levels deep. The facility itself was meticulously camouflaged, reinforcing the deep secrecy of the program. Within the lowest level of the underground complex, a specialized chamber was constructed to maintain the precise environmental conditions necessary for the J-rod's survival. Dan's responsibilities required direct interaction with the being, primarily for biological tissue sampling and biological study. J-rod had been recovered from the 1953 Kingman, Arizona crash, where 3 beings were retrieved, 1 deceased, 1 alive and sent to Los Alamos National Laboratory to a facility nicknamed Sweetness, and 1 transferred to Area 51. Dan, along with his working associate, Dr. Arthur Price, made significant advances in developing a unique sequencing technique for DNA that would ultimately reveal the J-rod's connection to our future human lineage. The being was suffering from a peripheral neuropathy, a congenital condition causing muscle atrophy, difficulty walking, and an inability to regulate body temperature due to a lack of antifreeze glycoproteins. Dan would ultimately learn of the government's long-term agreements with various life forms beyond the J-rods, and that these agreements are revisited every 9 years. Who here remembers David Grush not responding in the negative when asked twice by Ross Coulthart if we have agreements with NHI? This revelation is one of the most significant takeaways from this presentation, and as I believe, these agreements still influence the current disclosure movement and quite possibly current major geopolitical decisions worldwide. One of the most extraordinary technologies at the time within the facility, and another that worked in unison with it at a tweezer facility located elsewhere on the Nevada test site, is the looking glass. It utilized electromagnetic fields and a rotating cylinder filled with injected gas to observe potential future events. The device could also access wormholes, leading to study of different timelines. To serve the evolving needs of the MJ-12 group, later renamed the Committee of the Majority, One of the treaty agreements with non-human intelligences mandated the eventual disclosure of their existence to the world. This was intended to prepare humanity for extraterrestrial contact and mitigate potential catastrophic consequences. Ethical considerations, concerns over genetic implications, and the need to ensure a balanced future for humanity further reinforced the urgency of this initiative. Eventually, as a result, Dan was elevated to an entry-level position within Majestic that served multiple strategic purposes. 1. Enhanced his public credibility and perception for disclosure. 2. Facilitated negotiations and diplomatic efforts, both foreign and domestic, to guide humanity's future. And 3, most importantly, positioned him as the face of disclosure, allowing him to speak openly about his background and education. However, it was later revealed that Dan harbored deep resentment toward Majestic for selecting him for this role. While he honored their wishes, Dan never wanted to be the public face for disclosure. It's now abundantly clear that these extraordinary claims must be weighed against substantive evidence. We do not have the privilege of accessing the facilities where Dan worked, participating in shadowy conversations, or witnessing what he experienced firsthand. But a common method of research for evaluating such claims is to gather as much intelligence as possible about the individual making them. Is he truly who he claims to be? Did he work where he says he did? Were there others who could corroborate his story? What conclusions have other investigators reached after examining his claims? To begin, let's take a closer look at who Dan Burisch is.